I am here to discuss the importance that biofuels will play in our country's future. As we are all aware of, most of our nation's fuel is supplied by oil, and oil is derived from fossil fuels. The world supply of fossil fuels is not infinite. The question is not if we will run out, but when. And our nation may collapse if those energy needs are not met in the future. I believe that biofuels may be the renewable energy source we will need. Biofuels may have the added advantage of decreasing our pollution because biofuels do not emit carbon, but because the carbon was already in our atmosphere and captured by the plants and used for biofuel. It wasn't the carbon from fossil fuels that was held in the earth for millions of years and released by us. I believe with more research, algae may be a suitable substitute for fossil fuels. In comparison with more well-known biofuels, such as the ones derived from corn, algae fuel will not affect freshwater resources because they can be produced from wastewater, and if a spill were to occur, they are harmless to the environment. The United States Department of Energy estimates that if algae fuel replaced all the petroleum fuel in the United States, it would require 15,000 square miles. This is less than 1/7 the area of all the corn harvested in the United States in the year 2000. According to the head of the Algal Biomass Organization, algae fuel can reach price parity with oil in 2018 if granted production tax credits. I see algae as a better alternative than the other biomethods because it can produce many more times the amount of oil per acre than other alternative crops. How does one get oil from pond scum? Algae is grown in a pond, and when it is harvested, the oil, which is found naturally in the pond scum, is extracted from the cell walls. The hexane solvent method is one way to get oil from algae. First, one squeezes out the oil, then the leftovers are mixed with hexane. They are then filtered and cleaned so there are no chemicals left in the algae oil. Using the supercritical fluids method, carbon dioxide acts as the supercritical fluid. This is when something is pressurized and superheated to change it from a liquid to a gaseous form. At this point, carbon dioxide is mixed in with the algae. After they have been mixed, the carbon dioxide turns the algae into oil. Once extracted, the oil is refined for use using acids called transesterification. In transesterification, a catalyst like sodium hydroxide is mixed with an alcohol such as methanol. This mixture creates a biofuel combined with glycerol. The mixture must be refined further to remove the glycerol. After it is removed, the final result is a usable biodiesel fuel. This last method is not a popular way to make biofuel because of the added cost of labor and equipment in order to make it work. In spite of the many benefits of algae as biofuel, there are some drawbacks. The performance of algae as fuel is lower than other alternatives. The production of biofuel from algae also results in several other unstable compounds. One of the major problems facing the economic viability of biogasoline is the higher cost compared with traditional gasoline alternatives. Research groups are finding the current investment groups are impatient with the pace of biofuel progress. A research group studying the cost of production will prevent A research group studying the economic viability of biofuels found that current techniques of production and high costs of production will prevent biogasoline from being accessible to the general public. Another problem inhibiting the success of biofuels is the lack of tax relief. Their government is providing tax relief for ethanol fuels, but to date has not yet offered tax rebates for algae researches. This makes algae biofuel a much less attractive option to investors. Another barrier to the research of algae biofuel is the effects it may have on the farming industry. If algae biofuel becomes a serious alternative, a large percentage of our existing arable land would be converted to ponds in order to grow and harvest the algae. This could decrease the amount of land used to farm food for human consumption and may decrease overall feedstock. I do believe that algae is a viable and renewable source of fuel, but since it is a relatively new technology, more research is required for cultivation and biofuel production before we can begin to see algae biogasoline. Therefore, it may be years or even decades before we see the first mass-produced automobiles that can run on palm scum. Thank you.